welcome to EvoReal Talks. This is Jessica Side.
And this is Matt Side.
And we're coming at you almost live from Spokane.
Live from downtown Spokane.
And we used to be downtown Spokane, but now we have to be in our house.
Coming to you live from our dining room.
That's right, that's right.
Hey, Jessica.
Yes.
How's homeschooling going?
That's a loaded question. You know, there are moments, and I will not say there are days that are good, but there are moments that are good and there are moments that are bad, because we can start the day really horribly and end up well, or we can start the day really horribly, and end horribly, no. No, it's challenging.
Do they call that a Freudian slip when you say what's true but you wish you didn't say?
Yeah. No, it's challenging at times. And for some of my children, more challenging than others. So
yeah, that's why I asked. I thought
Thanks,
a lot of people out there are probably struggling with that are dealing with kids at home that are not used to that.
It's true. We're surviving, and I feel like our 9-year-old is learning some things, and that is the most important, right?
Yeah,
if
that's
we just
good.
Reinforce some things that were challenging for him, then I think that's really good.
Pretty sure he asked if he could homeschool next year.
He did. I was like, you crazy boy. I was so confused by that question. I didn't even know what to do.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway.
Well, this week we're going to change it up a little bit in our approach.
Yeah.
We're kind of tossing out the normal history here at the beginning, and we're going to jump right into some of the economics that are going on. We've got a featured house. We'll talk some real estate numbers and some stuff for buyers.
The tiniest bit of history that I just kind of did a little tiny bit of research on.
Really? Some?
Just a tiny bit. We're also going to talk about things that you can do to your house to improve its value.
Yeah, some
and
stuff
kind
for
of
sellers.
some of the national numbers for that, and then some of our own opinions when it comes to Spokane's market. So I think that will be interesting for people who are thinking about doing, major remodels or projects.
Yeah, I think too, just on that, before we get into the economic stuff, I think it's important to understand the difference between a remodel at this moment for a return at this moment in time,
right,
versus the satisfaction level of having that item and what you can expect it to do for your value in the future.
Sure.
Like new kitchen, well, if I'm going to live with that for 5 years and I can get some benefit out of it for selling it down the road, totally different than, hey, I'm going to put my house on the market in 2 months. What should I remodel?
Or tomorrow. Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about that.
So, all right, let's talk economics. And I do need to give credit where credit is due. This is from Washington Trust. Steve Scranton, one of their chief economic officers at Washington Trust, sends out kind of updates periodically. And so I'm going to hijack some of the research that he's done here.
Cool.
At the moment in time, the debate continues to rage over what the proper trade-off is between jobs lost and lives lost. And most states are phasing in some form of reopening process, even though most of them haven't met even the president or the federal government's guidelines for reopening. Yeah. It's projected at this point that 95% of the states will be reopened in some form by the end of May, so that's just a couple of weeks. And I think, and I'm totally hijacking this from his email, I guess we watch to see whether there's a new surge of infections or not and what that will do long term. But let's talk about the economics as it sits right now. Let's talk about consumer credit. Federal Reserve reported that consumer credit declined by $12.1 billion in March after rising $20 billion in February. Revolving credit, i.e. credit cards, fell by 28.2.
You're saying the amount of money that people are spending on their credit cards went down. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So
consumer credit declined. Like they're paying their credit cards down.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So I think what's happening is people are spending less money, and they're taking things like stimulus checks and paying off some of their credit. So that's gone down. So it rose $20 billion in February. It declined $12 billion in March. Wow. So that's like a $32 billion swing.
Yeah.
So non-revolving credit would be car loans, student loans, and those type of things. Those rose by $16 billion.
So people are buying cars, but they're paying off their consumer
that's what
debt.
It looks like maybe from a high level. Let's talk about the employment situation, because I think that's very, very pertinent to the real estate market.
Yeah.
Is what employment does or doesn't do. So Bureau of Land Statistics. So month of April numbers we did kick out last week. Unemployment rates rose to 14.7%. So that's a number we talked about last week. That's a huge number. That's like depression level numbers.
Right.
The thing that kind of blew my mind a little bit here is that Bureau of Labor Statistics indicated that if not for the fact that over 6 million people dropped out of the labor force and stopped looking for work, the unemployment rate would have been 19.7%, so almost 20%. And what it is there's this little quirk in the unemployment rate is that if you're not actively looking for work, then you're not considered unemployed.
Right.
And so there's 6 million people that said, well, I'm not even going to look for work right now because nothing's even open.
Right.
So the real number is that 20%, basically 19.7% of our nation is unemployed. So
now I know we talk about that being depression level unemployment, but I also think that the hope and the prayer is that we will be able to get those people back to work, even if it is phasing in. It's not like those jobs are gone. They're just...
Yes, and that's the hope, right?
Yeah,
so
right?
The vast majority of those unemployed people would classify themselves as temporarily unemployed.
Right.
The reality is, and I highlighted this, the reality is that many may discover that they're not temporarily unemployed if their businesses suffered severe enough damage that they don't reopen.
And that's the real...
That's the big question mark. Like right now, it's like, well, as soon as the jobs are open, then I'm going to go back to work.
Right.
The question is, what if the jobs aren't there when things reopen?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Consumer Price Index. Wow, we got like an economics lesson here.
I know, this is
Consumer Price Index. So these are goods, the things that we spend money on. So the good news there is that has declined. It declined 0.8% in the month of March.
It's funny because the things that are good for us as consumers are bad for the economy and the businesses and all those things. But
so the big major categories that saw declines, obviously airfares. Down 15.1%.
Only 15.1%? That's surprising to me.
Well, the only people that are traveling are the ones that have to at this point.
I know, but still, it seems like it'd be like 50%.
Yeah, the question would be, if you're an airline, are you going to entice people to fly by cutting if you're not going to fly, you're not going to fly no matter how cheap it is.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Energy prices down 10% and apparel prices down 4.7%. If you've got a gift card from Christmas...
Yeah, now's the time
to use it.
We did that.
Ethan did that. He had a Christmas gift card.
Actually, yeah, you all purchased stuff from one, let's see, where did we do?
American Eagle.
Because they had all sorts of great deals.
Like 40 to 60% off.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the funny thing I thought was interesting here is that the purchases by people apparel-wise were primarily pajamas and sweatpants. So
it does seem to be the new uniform.
The dress code for stay-at-home work.
I did feel like you're just like rolling out of bed and into the same sweat outfit that you wore. And it seems like it's just been in the past week, where it seemed like he was trying just a little bit more, taking more showers, shaving more often.
I said this morning, literally, that you've been in a pandemic too long when you feel like you just got dressed up because you put a polo on.
Right, yes. Matt is, for those of you who are in radio world,
I feel that
Matt is wearing a polo today. And I was like, honey, look at you all dressed up. Well, I am wearing a sweatshirt today. But I am wearing this sweatshirt for a purpose, because I am going to say something about this sweatshirt.
A couple other quick things on our economics. So real average hourly earnings. So those rose 7.5% in March.
Okay.
What people are getting paid hourly. But before you get too excited...
I'm like, what does this mean?
There's a statistical aberration there. Oh, I've got an alarm going off while we're recording.
It's all right. Go ahead.
There's a statistical aberration there because what happened is leisure and hospitality sector has basically been completely removed from that section, and they have the lowest average hourly earnings. So it creates a distortion in the calculation. So basically, as soon as that comes back in, then everything's going to drop back down. So anyway, for those people that are watching that, I think you don't get too excited that all of a sudden people got a pay raise, because that's not what it means. Payroll protection or paycheck protection program, second round of that came in. There was kind of an initial big surge, but it has slowed down. There's still about 50% of the funds available for that.
Still available funds?
Yeah, there's just very little, kind of a trickle, at least according to Washington Trust, in applications. Could be uncertainty in the changing landscape of what SBA says they're going to forgive and why they're going to forgive it.
Right, but also,
some people have also had a difficulty hiring people back because they're making more money on unemployment than they would normal wages.
But I do think it might be that some people think that their opportunity might be over. So this is a good public service announcement that, hey, if it's something that you need and it might work for you,
money is still there. Money is still there.
Okay.
So, and then kind of new conversations in regard to fiscal aid and stimulus packages in the House of Representatives at a national level right now. The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell came out this week and basically said the economy should recover after the virus is under control. However, many small businesses won't survive that long, and a wave of personal and business bankruptcies could cause lasting damage to our economy. So that was kind of his appeal to Congress to say, we got to do something to help these small businesses so that these people that are out of work have jobs to come back to.
Yeah, for sure.
When this all kind of blows over. So, there you go. Hey, we're making real estate exciting again, or fun again, whatever our tagline is.
Whoa, glad we've got you on this podcast or a radio show or whatever it is.
Whatever we call this thing. So I have a couple of other thoughts around the market.
I will allow it.
Will you?
Yes,
okay.
Please share with us.
So I was on the phone with our SAR president, Tom Clark.
SAR is?
The Spokane Association of Realtors. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Acronyms, you know. Anyway, we were talking this week, and the powers that be at the National Association of Realtors are starting to make some predictions. And right now, the Boise real estate market is tagged as the #1 market to recover. And Spokane is tagged as #2 for markets in the country to recover.
For national recognition of
and it doesn't totally surprise me because if you go back to our first episode of the year, I mean, Boise and Spokane and Idaho Falls and Coeur d'Alene and those markets were the most, like, the highest appreciating markets in the country, and so it would make sense that they would have the potential to recover fastest.
And certainly I'm sure there are other markets that the slowdown has been a lot more pronounced, where for those people who are selling houses right now, if you've got it priced right, man, they're going fast, especially in certain, I mean, we've talked about this in certain price ranges, you know.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. You had an experience this weekend with some clients that houses were being bid up $20,000 and $30,000 over list price.
That is correct.
So I also think it was interesting that the May statistics nationally for real estate sales are higher than projected.
Okay.
And so some of we'll just call them, again, the powers that be at the NAR level, National Association of Realtors, they were anticipating May and June being the worst months and are guessing that perhaps April was the last month and we may already be climbing out of the hole.
Okay.
I don't know that I totally agree with that. I think that June and July will probably be the worst months. So much of it is a big question mark.
Oh, absolutely. It just depends on
who's going to have a job in the next 30 to 60 days and who isn't.
And who's going to feel comfortable, because some people feel very comfortable putting their house on the market. Maybe they have just a few people that live there. Maybe they're extremely healthy. Maybe they're not living there at all, vacant homes. But, you know, if you've got a person who's got some kind of, you know, diabetes or something where they're more at risk, they're not going to put their house on the market. So, you know, the safer people feel, the more houses we're going to get on the market, and that's going to help kind of keep things moving for sure. Because, you know, for every house in the $250,000 range, you have 8 buyers, one person now gets that house, but there are still 7 more buyers trying to buy. You know, for every house, there are so many people. It's not unusual. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, so forgive me if I did, but it's not unusual to be scheduling 35 walkthroughs of a house within a 24 or 48 hour period.
As the list agent.
As the list agent.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's a lot of people looking at all the same houses.
And my thought on that is at this moment in time, this snapshot, and that will be the determining factor, because if that buyer pool stays the same into summer, then absolutely blip on the radar. If those 7 buyers that were in line and lost out on that house all of a sudden can't qualify for a loan anymore,
correct,
totally different story.
Absolutely.
And that's why I have continued to say, and I feel like a broken record, is unless you feel comfortable into the unknown and kind of waiting and seeing and being okay if the market kind of has a correction that doesn't let you sell right now.
Right.
You know, it's the bird in the hand theory, right? Like if you're a buyer and seller and you want to buy and sell, then you probably should just do that.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that completely. Matt, will you share with us the featured home of the day?
I would love to. Today's featured home is at 1617 East 29th. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. It is, for those of you that don't know that area very well, it's not far from the South Hill Library. It's just west of the Lincoln Heights shopping area. Very centrally located on the South Hill. Great access, very private condo association. This property was built in 1978. It has a very mid-century feel to it on the inside, though. It's got vaulted ceilings, kind of that tongue and groove, knotty pine on the ceilings.
Yeah,
it reminds me
cool.
of your mom's house a lot, actually. Like the brick fireplace that goes all the way to the ceiling.
Yeah, I like that
really
a lot.
great, cool. All single level. So anybody that is looking for single level living, this is huge.
Super popular right now. For a lot
it
of
is
people.
priced at $279. Which, again, in this market, anything under $300,000
it's going pretty fast.
is going pretty fast. So, great area, great location. If you're interested in the property and you want to take a look at it, give us a call, send us a message. We'd be happy to set something up.
Yeah. Of course, I have a story about that area.
Of course you do.
Well, it's near my mom's house, and while I was still living with my mom, I was on my way someplace, and I got in a pretty bad car accident right around there.
Not too far.
Yes, but now I've reclaimed that area because I haven't had an accident there ever since. And I go to the library there a lot. I love that area. Wonderful. Well, Matt, I want to transition to talking about, we said that we would discuss with people the renovations that you can do to your home and the subsequent value that then you could potentially get out of your home. So we want to look at a few things when it comes to that. So I've got in front of me what the National Association of Realtors, they collect data on everybody, right? And they take a look at the cost of these and then what on average we believe you're going to get back out of those renovations.
Or what they believe. I think that's important.
Yes, they believe, yes, and I do, but I think that there are, we have some things to talk about when it comes to that. So first, let us talk about what happened to me this week. So a seller called me up and said, I want to sell a house. I would like you to walk through it, and I'd like you to tell me what I should do to the house. So we went, I walked through it, I gave opinions. And in this particular situation, I'm trying to decide if I really want to tell you. I might hold on what I actually told him he should do until the end of this. Okay, so let's look at the numbers for interior projects. The top 3 interior projects that most home buyers want to do is a complete kitchen renovation.
And pause. Most home buyers want to have.
Excuse me, sellers. Yeah. Sellers want to do
because the buyers want it.
Yeah, that's right. So complete kitchen renovation is number 1. Kitchen upgrade is number 2, and HVAC replacement is number 3.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now here's the crazy stuff. The Realtor Association basically says that when you do a complete renovation of your home, renovation of your kitchen. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it. No, it's good.
That's literally the only time I think I've heard that.
You get back 59% of that.
On a kitchen renovation.
That is correct. If it's a total upgrade, you get back 52% of that.
I think those are fair numbers.
I think those are very fair numbers.
Which is so important for a seller to understand. If you spend $20,000
Yeah.
on your kitchen upgrade, you're not getting $20,000 back out of it.
Right, and it's costing a lot more than that. I actually did speak to someone today and asked them, okay, you just did a kitchen renovation. And in that kitchen renovation, how much money did you spend? And this is Spokane. And they did, when I say they did all the work themselves, they did hire actually, I don't even know if they hired a plumber, but they got help from an electrician. But I think it was like a friend, okay? And they spent $35,000 on that renovation. They bought the cabinets themselves. They picked them up. They installed the cabinets.
So that's
they put
the
in
cheapy version because it's a
It's really nice,
DIY.
and that would be countertops. That's quartz countertops.
Sure.
That's thinking through everything.
And size of kitchen matters too.
And size of kitchen. This is not a huge kitchen, but it's a good size kitchen.
Okay.
It's a decent size kitchen. I thought it was going to be less than that. I thought that they would have spent, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're definitely going to save so much money. If they would have had someone else do all that work, you're probably talking about $50,000 even here in Spokane to upgrade a kitchen. And that's not even a huge kitchen. So understanding that is important because, again, people ask me all the time, should I redo my kitchen? And I'm like, well, are you going to enjoy it at all? Or are you just going to upgrade your kitchen to sell it? Because you're not going to get $50,000 out of that renovation. So
That's
you better be
such
enjoying
an important distinction because it happens so frequently that sellers come and say, well, I just put XYZ dollars into this.
Right.
I'm like, well, that's great. I hope you enjoyed that because you're sure not going to get that out of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the things that are probably the top things that you can do on an interior project to get money back out. New wood flooring is 106% is what you get back. So you actually get your money and some.
Okay.
According to the National Association.
I would not disagree with that.
Here's the one I think is even better because I think it's a lot less expensive is actually hardwood refinishing. This says 100%. But I
Which
think
only works if you have hardwoods.
That is correct. Yes. But it's 100% back. So those ones are big. Also, they say the HVAC is even better. They say it's 85% that you get back.
85% on your HVAC? Like, what does that even mean? Because you put a new furnace in?
I guess maybe for some people having an upgraded furnace, and I do think it depends.
I suppose it depends on what you're coming from, right? If you go from an oil furnace to a gas furnace, I can see that because people in Spokane are going to say, oil furnace, big expense, and I'm going to have to fix it.
And it's kind of dirty.
It's dirty, but the cost of operation, even if it's not actually accurate, the feeling is that I'm going to spend a bunch more money to operate this furnace, and it's probably going to need to be replaced anyway.
Right.
So people would look at that and potentially pay more for a newer gas furnace, for example.
And people, especially in the summertime, their mind is on central AC. And so I do think that central AC can be
Which I'm sorry if your specialty is putting in radiant heat, but in this, and I have to just tell my own story, like when my dad built his house, he had someone he knew that did radiant heat, like a baseboard radiant heat.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's heated up. It can be heated up by
water.
gas, oil, or electric.
But it's a radiant water heat.
Right, and it runs through whatever you have if it's got a baseboard.
Which means you can't have air conditioning.
Why can't you
Because
have
it's
air
not
conditioning?
forced air.
Why?
Why do you mean it's not? Why?
What's missing?
The fan?
The ducts. It's the duct work that's the big deal because you can change over a furnace to be something, but if you don't have ducting throughout your house to push the air through,
which is one of the most
AC.
expensive parts of the furnace
Right.
being put in. So I will venture to say he regrets to this day that he put in a radiant heat system because he cannot put in air conditioning unless he puts in a completely, like he has to go up into the attic and put an AC unit.
And I just had one of my clients was looking at something and it was all radiant heat and they just made a phone call and this was literally last week and they said it could cost up to $12,000 to put it in
It's
an
like
attic.
putting in a new furnace, basically.
Right. And you're working in an attic, so how big is that space?
Yeah.
Makes it even harder. And if you have a finished basement,
I mean, if it's there already, it's there already.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking of converting from electric heat, for example, to some sort of plumbed system, you just go with the forced air.
Yeah. So let's talk about exterior projects. The exterior projects that are, number 1, 2, and 3 is roofing. So new roofing, vinyl windows, and vinyl siding. Now, it's interesting because realtors on the other side of this sheet agree with the first two, but they say it's way better to put in fiber cement siding, which I agree with because it doesn't fade as much and you can paint it. Where vinyl siding, you really can't paint it
vinyl
successfully.
siding is a lot lower down on their list.
Yeah. So roofing, the National Association says that you get 107% back. And here's what I was thinking about that. If I have one roof that looks good and another roof that looks good, it's not going to make any difference to me. But if that roof looks like that is about to fall off the house compared to the house next door that looks brand new,
you're going to pay more for it.
You're going to pay more for it. So they're saying it's 107%. You get back the value plus. And I think that these numbers you have to remember is how far apart are we? So let's go back to my story. Okay, so I'm talking to my client this week who says, what should I do to my house to sell it? This house had been a rental for 15 years. So it needed some work. It wasn't horrible, but it needed some work. If he puts in, I told him, if you do new flooring, a new kitchen, which is very tiny, new bathroom, because he was planning on doing some stuff anyway, because it was so bad, it's worth it for that seller to actually do all these things because he's going to get that money back.
Plus some.
Versus the person who has a perfectly good kitchen but would like to have quartz countertops and maybe do some things, that you're not going to find that. You're not going to get that value back unless you're enjoying it for 5 years and then, you know what I'm saying?
Which is why, and I'll just throw this out there, you have to have somebody give you an opinion. I mean, at the end of the day, if I do this, am I going to get this in return?
Right.
Because your client's situation was such that, you should do those things because it will sell faster. You're going to get more money. Yeah.
And they're not going to put in quartz countertops. Okay.
It was a starter home.
It's a starter home. So it's going to be something that they do a nice job on, but it's going to be something that still stays affordable for the area that it's in and the size of the home. So you really have to think, it's not just cut and dry.
Sure.
No, you shouldn't do the kitchen remodel, or yes, you should. There are so many factors that go into that, and I think that is why, you want a real estate professional that understands that for some houses, you're going to get the value out of that roof if you put a new roof on because it looks like it's falling apart.
Right.
Versus that has 7 to 10 years on it. Don't touch it.
Which is the risk if I'm the seller and I on my own go to the NAR and say, oh well, I'm going to get 107% if I put a new roof on.
Yeah.
You might not, based on the condition of your roof, because the reality is that everybody expects you to have a roof on your house.
Absolutely.
So if it's in reasonable condition, in that example, you probably don't need to put something on. You're not going to get that money back.
Right. Well, Matt, let's move on to the numbers. We've been very faithful in doing our numbers every week, and I want to make sure we get that in.
All right, let's take a look at it. In all of Spokane, active listings as of today, 1,156, which compared to the last couple weeks is basically the same. We had 1,100 listings the week before, 1,063 prior to that, and 1,090 on 4/11. So we're basically in that 1,000. Right. Pending listings, same story. 1,506. Last week was a little over 1,400. So a little bit more, not quite 100, but sold in the last 7 days, 116. That's down from last week. Sold in the last 30 days, 616, almost equal with the week prior, which was 612. So we're not seeing a huge change week over week. Our average per month for the past 12 months was 870, and I think it was 880 the month or the week prior. Months of inventory 1.32.
That's up just a
tiny. So that's crept up a little bit.
It's funny because I think when I'm watching for my own clients, I'm watching houses that come in, and today there was a glut of houses that came on the market today, and so of course I'm hoping that like something is breaking loose and there's going to be more listings.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that that's happening. Even our state is starting to loosen up, so I can see people starting to do that.
But it's funny that I'm excited about 1.32 months of inventory. That doesn't seem that good.
Yeah, well, it's better than 1.1 or 0.4.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so median sold price for the last 7 days, $305,000. $300,000.
That's the first time we've broken 300.
Yeah, it was 292, 265, 298. It's kind of been bouncing back up and down in that under 300.
And that doesn't surprise me based on some of the craziness I'm seeing.
I'll be curious as we get the next few weeks out. The median sold for the last 30 days is still 280. It was exactly the same as the week prior.
Okay.
But again, you're going a few weeks back. So as we move into summer, again, depending on how things play out, I'll be interested if our median bumps above 300,000.
Yeah.
Sold year to date in 2020, 2686. Same period in 2019, 2722. So,
wow,
an extra 40 houses last year, different than this year. I mean, we're pretty much tracking year over year.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching. And if you need any help, call us at 509-62-HOUSE or visit us on any of the internets under EvoReal, EvoReal.
Thanks so
everybody.
much. We'll see you later.
Bye.